Tonight, we examine a shockwave in America's food industry, a disruption that's sending tremors through communities, businesses, and dinner tables across the nation. Tyson Foods, a giant in chicken and meat production, is shuttering 5 major processing plants, a move that's sending ripples far beyond the company's walls. This isn't just a business decision, it's a seismic event for thousands of workers, small towns built around these plants, and the nation's food supply chain. The closures have left entire communities reeling, upending generations of steady work, local businesses, and the sense of stability families once relied on. The ripple effects stretch from rising grocery store prices to global trade. As other nations eye the void Tyson leaves behind and consider how to fill it. How did such a pillar of American industry reach this critical point? And what does it mean for the future of food production in the United States? This story is about more than one company. It's about the shifting landscape of global trade, changing consumer habits, and the families caught in the middle of these sweeping changes. We'll hear from workers facing uncertainty, political leaders demanding answers, and see how Canada and other countries are moving quickly to capitalize on America's retreat from the market. The implications are vast, touching every dinner table, every grocery store aisle, and every corner of the economy, from rural towns to bustling cities. Tyson's retreat signals a new economic reality taking shape before our eyes, one that could redefine the future of American food production. Let's dive deeper into the story behind the headlines and uncover what's really at stake for America's heartland.
To grasp today's crisis, we need to understand Tyson's rise. Tyson Foods began in 1935, when John W. Tyson started delivering chickens in Arkansas. Built on hard work and reliability, Tyson grew from a local supplier to a national powerhouse. Under Don Tyson, the company became vertically integrated, controlling every step from hatchery to processing. By the 1980s and 90s, Tyson had acquired major competitors and became the world's largest poultry producer. Its brands, Tyson, Jimmy Dean, Hillshire Farm, became staples in American homes. Tyson was more than a company. It was an institution, providing stable jobs in rural America. But the company has faced controversies, labor conditions, environmental concerns, and volatile markets. Despite setbacks, Tyson always bounced back, until now. The current closures mark the most severe challenge in its history. For the first time, its resilience is in question. The American success story is at a crossroads.
Why is Tyson shutting down plants now? It's a perfect storm of economic pressures. Feed costs have soared due to supply chain disruptions and weather, squeezing profits. Labor costs are up, while demand for meat has softened post-pandemic as families cut back. Tyson faces excess supply, aging plants needing costly upgrades, and fierce global competition, especially from South America. The company is consolidating to newer, more efficient facilities, but at a steep cost to communities. With rising costs and cheaper imports, Tyson can't raise prices without losing customers. The crisis forced drastic, painful cuts.
Behind the stark numbers are real people, thousands losing their jobs as 5 major plants closed down, leaving communities in despair. In small towns like Knoll, Missouri, the Tyson plant was the economic lifeblood. Its sudden closure means nearly 1,500 jobs lost in a town of just over 2,000 residents. A devastating blow. Local businesses, diners, gas stations, and stores depend heavily on Tyson paychecks to survive. When those paychecks vanish, the whole local economy suffers, creating a ripple effect that is hard to contain. Workers like Maria in Corydon, Indiana, now face an uncertain future. "This is all I know. Where do we go from here?" she asks, her voice filled with worry. Many have specialised skills not easily transferred elsewhere, forcing families to consider leaving their homes, uprooting their lives. The closures tear at the social fabric, breaking apart communities that were built around these plants for generations. Local officials scramble to provide support, but the scale of the problem is overwhelming, leaving many without immediate help. Demand for social services, unemployment benefits, food assistance will surge dramatically, straining resources. The loss of Tyson leaves a deep scar on the community that may take decades to heal, if ever. For many, it's not just a job lost, but a way of life that has been shattered. The human cost is staggering, affecting not just individuals but entire families. The ripple effects of these closures will be felt for years, altering the landscape of these once thriving communities. As Tyson retreats, Canada is moving in. Companies like Maple Leaf Foods and Lamel are ramping up production, ready to fill the gap in the US market. With modern, efficient plants and government support, Canadian producers have key advantages. Recent trade data shows a surge in Canadian poultry imports to the US since the closures. Canadian companies are signing new contracts with American grocery chains and restaurants. An industry executive says, "We have the capacity and quality to meet US demand." This shift is reshaping North American food trade, raising questions about US food security. As more food comes from abroad, America grows more vulnerable to global disruptions. Canada's rise is a direct result of America's struggles, a reminder that in the global economy, one nation's crisis is another's opportunity. The balance of power in food production is shifting.
The impact of Tyson's closures ripples far beyond the plants. Consumers may see higher prices and fewer options for chicken and deli meats. Farmers who supplied Tyson now face financial ruin, with barns and equipment built for a buyer that's vanished. "I have a 20-year mortgage on these chicken houses. Tyson was my only customer," one Arkansas farmer says. The closures could trigger bankruptcies across the agricultural sector. Globally, reduced US production may shift trade routes, benefiting producers in Canada and Brazil. The US risks losing its leadership in food exports. Related industries, transportation, packaging, logistics, will also feel the pain. When a giant like Tyson stumbles, the entire economic web is shaken. The true extent of the fallout will unfold over months and years. Communities, consumers, and global markets are all affected. The story is far from over.
Experts warn that Tyson's closures are not just isolated incidents. They reveal deeper systemic problems in America's food system that have been building for years. Dr. Sarah Davis, agricultural economist, explains, "Consolidation means a few big companies control everything, from production to distribution, leaving little room for flexibility or competition. When one major player falters, the entire system is at risk of collapse, much like a row of dominoes falling one after another." The lack of redundancy makes the food chain extremely fragile. Just one closure can disrupt supplies nationwide, affecting millions of people almost overnight. Dr. Mark Jensen, labor sociologist, adds, "These jobs were a path to the middle class for many families, providing stability and opportunity. Their loss leaves rural communities hollowed out, with fewer businesses, declining schools, and shrinking populations. Retraining programs often fall short. They rarely match the wages or security of the jobs that have disappeared. New jobs are scarce in these areas, and many workers struggle to find meaningful employment, leading to long-term economic decline." Food safety analysts worry that consolidating into fewer megaplants increases risk. Disease or disaster at one site can cripple supply for the entire country. It's a constant trade-off, efficiency versus resilience, and right now, resilience is losing out to short-term gains. International trade experts see America's retreat as a sign of weakness, creating a power vacuum for rivals like Canada and Brazil to fill in global markets. The closures are not just a domestic issue. They have global strategic consequences, affecting food security and trade relationships worldwide. America's position as a food leader is at stake, and the world is watching to see how the nation responds to these challenges. The system's fragility is now exposed, serving as a wake-up call for urgent reform and greater resilience in the food supply chain.
Tyson's closures mark a turning point for America's heartland. The road ahead for displaced workers and their towns will be long and uncertain. It will take coordinated action, government, business, and communities to rebuild and adapt. For consumers, it's a wake-up call about the fragility of our food system. Calls for a more resilient, decentralized food supply will grow louder. The fate of towns like Knoll and Corydon depends on the choices we make now. The future of America's food and its communities hangs in the balance. The story is still being written.